Chatbot is an AI agent. When we do our AI agent system design, we want to keep the architecture as simple as possible. You ain't gonna need it. YAGNI, the software engineering architectural principle, applies, and our data science principles apply. AI engineering is the intersection of data science and software engineering. And in data science, you also don't want additional features if they aren't adding concrete value. So an AI agent is an autonomous system that can think for itself and complete tasks. So we want to think about the simplest possible architecture and the most complicated possible architecture. And then there are the central mean, the normal architectures, the typical architectures. But your particular use case may be closer to simple than typical or complex. And so don't just dive into adopting something like the Google ADK, an agent development framework. It doesn't make your system an agent just because you're using the ADK. And you can build an agent without an ADK. Consider the following use case. I have test failures in a remote environment. The developer would like the solution. How do I fix these failures? To give them the fix, we could build a full-blown agent that has tool usage, that has multi-step reasoning, but it's not necessary. We could also do a one-pass, and it could effectively operate as a chatbot. So the generative AI call to the language model that doesn't maintain state, a stateless one-off call to a language model, a one-pass solution, can fix this, and that constitutes reasoning. So when we think about the fact that agents reason, and we think about the fact that reasoning typically contains a chain of thought, but we also want to consider the simple case. Is it possible to do this in a one pass? If we can do it in a one pass, then we don't need the overhead of managing state, of dealing with loops, of calling tools. We can simply call the language model and get the answer. It's also important to realize that tools are not only those particular fragments of data that we send to the language model that follow the API spec from your LangGraph, from your Google ADK, whatever provider that they're using, they will probably have API support for something they call tools. That is a particular implementation of tools. That doesn't describe the entire world of tools. An arbitrary Python script on my local machine is a tool. A website, if I call an API, that API can be treated as a tool. Okay, so I can do a script that runs some logic, calls a language model, and does some validation in plain old software engineering validation. I don't need to do multi-step reasoning. So before you dive into adopting a full agent framework, consider if you can do a simpler architecture that doesn't use an agent framework. It does something using a combination of scripts and language model calls, or if you can just do a one-pass, well-prompted call to a language model. It's not sexy, but if it works, it's going to be cheaper, it's going to be faster, it's going to be easier to maintain. Hope this helps. Follow for more.